everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Cinderella Circle, in which we take a look at different versions of Cinderella that have been filmed and compare them. What did they keep? What did they change? What makes Cinderella a Cinderella story? I am your host, Danielle Marivette Hernandez. Say it again! You don't have to. It's okay. That was quite aggressive. Today, we are going to take a look at Ella Enchanted. Ella Enchanted is originally a novel by Gail Carson Levine. Excellent book. Do check it out if you've never done it before. It was adapted into a film around 2004, starring Anne Hathaway, Hugh Dancy, and a colorful cast of incredibly talented actors. I mean, Eric Idle is the narrator. So, Ella Enchanted. What you need to know. This takes place in a magical kingdom. Magic is everywhere. Ella is cursed. As a baby, Ella was gifted the quality of obedience by Lucinda, who in this case is not our typical fairy godmother. She's the antagonist. She has essentially cursed Ella with obedience. Anyone who ever gives Ella a directive, Ella must obey it. Now, the only people who know about this gift are her mother, who is alive at the start of the film, and her actual fairy godmother, Mandy. As a Cinderella version, pretty early on in the film, her mother gets sick, passes on. But before she does, she makes Ella promise never to tell anyone about this curse that she has, which she must obey. Then the film moves on. Ella's now grown up, and we see anytime someone tells her to do something, the order physically takes hold of her body, and she must do it. If someone tells her to speed up, she'll go whoop. So this quality in the film takes on very exaggerated tones. When she grows up, her father, who is a merchant, marries the wicked stepmother, brings in these two sisters, Hattie and Olive. And if you look at Hattie, she might look familiar because she has been a wicked stepsister before. So Ella grows up, she goes to school, her stepsisters also go to school with her. Her stepsisters have noticed something's a little off with Ella. Whenever they tell her to do something, she's oddly compliant about it. So Hattie figures out her secret right away and takes advantage of it right away, making her do things from stealing a pair of glass slippers in the local shopping mall, because yes, this version combines our modern corporate world with the fairy tale aesthetic. So in a shopping mall, she makes her steal a pair of glass slippers, and then, due to the curse, when she's told to get away, suddenly she's able to do all sorts of matrix moves. She freezes in thin air when she's commanded to freeze. It's like that. So we see a glass pair of shoes that Hattie suggests that she steal pretty early on in the movie, and then you won't see them again. That was it. The shoes are there as a wink, but they're not relevant to this version. What is relevant is Ella's political demeanor. She and her friend are going to protest the way that the current regent is running things, and Prince Charmant is about to come into his power. Now, he also has a bunch of fangirls because Prince Charmant is young and attractive and played by Hugh Dancy, so that's really all it takes. But Hattie is embarrassed by this and commands her to go home. So as she's leaving, Prince Charmant is running away from all of his fans, and they collide, they meet outside of a ball. And in this version in the book as well, they meet each other several times before any type of ball comes into play. Prince Charmant in the film has an uncle played by Cary Elwes, Uncle Edgar. He's a cartoonishly evil villain with an animated snake that no one finds odd or suspicious. And this snake can talk, which no one finds strange because we live in a magical world. The kingdom of Frel. Ella of Frel. So they meet for the first time. He's charmed by the fact that she's not interested in him. And then he almost gets her killed by telling her to wait right there while she's standing in the road. And she has to because of the curse. And then a carriage comes down and he's like, "Why didn't you move? Move!" And so with that directive, he charges at her, she's able to be dislodged from the space. And this is not the only time that he will save her life on account of the curse. Because Ella's quite capable herself in the book. In the film, it's really everyone else using these commands that assist her to have the types of powers she needs to overcome situations. After she meets Prince Charmant, she goes home where Hattie forces her to break up with her very best friend by saying some very hurtful and racist things. This is just the type of person that Hattie is, by the way. Ella's heart is broken, and she knows that if anyone finds out about this curse, they can make her do literally anything. So she is on a quest. She must break this curse. She must find Lucinda, and she does this with Mandy's help. Mandy, who is her fairy godmother, only can do some magic and not very well because reasons. And Mandy gives her a book, who is also her boyfriend. So the book is able to help her go where she's going, provide maps and information, as well as talk to her. And now Ella is on a quest to save herself. Not something we typically see in a Cinderella film. So she goes out into nature. There it is. There's her connection to nature. And she meets Slannen the elf, who is about to be eaten by an ogre. So they have an exchange. Slannen gives her some directives. Fight him, sweetie. Give him the old 1-2. Things like that. And because she must obey, Ella is suddenly fantastic in physical combat. Woo! Then she releases Slannen. In this version, all elves are hereby decreed to be entertainers of some regard, but nothing else. And all Slannen wants to do is become a lawyer. Now we have our posse growing. She's friends with this elf character, who, by the way, exists in the books, but is a completely different character. Do not correlate the two. Slannen in the books is not Slannen in the films. They only share a name. Now, they almost get eaten by ogres because the ogres use a directive, stay right there, and they're trapped for a while. But luckily, Prince Charmant comes through again. Now, Ella is running out of reasons to be kind of snobby to him because he has saved her life twice now. You know the rules. Someone saves your life multiple times. You're like, you owe them. You owe them a little something. Like your life. Then, Charmant escorts Ella to the Giants because there's a wedding going on, and the book says that is where you will find Lucinda. Remember, Lucinda is the fairy that cursed Ella. So they go to this wedding. Ella helps Prince Charmant with some diplomacy issues they were having with the Giants. He had no idea that giants were being forced to do physical labor. But Uncle Edgar would never let that happen. Uncle Edgar, our cartoonishly evil villain. So, we see the prince growing and maturing as a man, which we often see in a Cinderella tale. He goes on a quest, he matures. And we see Ella, unlike most Cinderella versions, at a wedding. This is not the ball. You also see Slannen, the elf, flirting with the giantess. One has to wonder how that's going to work out, but it does somehow. Then we have a musical number, and remember, this is a musical in pop culture references because all of the elves must entertain. It turns out Lucinda is not there, oh darn, but she does have a romantic interlude with Prince Charmant where they share an intimate conversation in front of a fire, and everyone knows fire is romantic, unless it's deadly. Then, while at the wedding, the guests notice an elf with Ella and demand that he sing. But remember, Slannen wants to be a lawyer, not an entertainer. So when he refuses, they call on Ella to sing, who of course must obey, and now she breaks into a delightful version of Can Anybody Find Me Somebody to Love? Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Ella sings a beautiful version of Somebody to Love by Queen. Fun little wink, as she will be queen by the end of this film. And Prince Charmant offers his help. by telling her about the Hall of Records over at the castle. So now our quest takes us to the castle where she is reviewing the Hall of Records. But remember that cartoonishly evil villain, Uncle Edgar, who has been running the crown while Prince Charmant has been coming of age? Well, he and his cartoonishly evil snake have been paying attention to Ella, and they notice something isn't right. There is a scene where Hattie and Olive are on a tour in the castle, and through a series of circumstances end up in a conversation privately with Edgar. And Edgar gets the information he needs by implying that Hattie could be the next queen and marry Charmant in exchange of getting rid of Ella. So it's Hattie who gives away the secret of the curse. Not that she knows it's a curse. She says she doesn't know why, but Ella has to do whatever you tell her to do. And that's when Edgar approaches Ella in the Hall of Records. Edgar commands that she assassinate Prince Charmant at the ball. Now this was exactly what Ella knew was feasible and didn't want to happen, and now it's happening. So now she's in a real bind, and she's trying to do everything possible not to go to the ball, which the prince has invited her to. Down to the fact that she has her friend chain her to a tree so that she can't physically go. But lucky of luckies, guess who pops into the film? Who else but Lucinda, the elusive fairy who she's been looking for the entire time. Lucinda sees that she's chained to a tree and is like, hey, let me help you. And she, ka-bing, removes the chains, not knowing that Ella is holding herself hostage. And then Ella asks her to take back the gift. This horribly offends Lucinda. And she tells Ella, figure it out yourself. Break the curse yourself. And then she's like, I'll do another gesture of kindness for you. Here's something to go to the ball in. Shabing! Now Ella's all dressed up to go to the ball. And here we have the Cinderella dress. It's white, but it also has it's a shiny material that reflects sort of pinks and greens. What is the name of that material? It's a white ball gown that shimmers different colors. Quite luminous and lovely. So now she goes to the ball magically fast because nothing is holding her hostage anymore. And she's trying to hide from the prince, who of course finds her, and he brings her to the Hall of Mirrors, just like Edgar predicted. And now she's in the exact location where she was told she must assassinate the prince, even though she doesn't want to. She finds herself in the Hall of Mirrors exactly as Edgar predicted. Edgar, who also murdered the parents of Prince Char, as he boasts. With a dagger in her hand, she's fighting with all of her might. She says, you will not be obedient. And she's fighting herself, and the curse is trying to make her stab Charmant as Charmant is proposing marriage to a life together. He's never met anyone like Ella. She's made him a better person. He's learning all about politics and the power that he wields as prince because of Ella. And here she is, literally doing her best not to murder him because of the curse. And they're in a hall of mirrors. So what happens? Well, what happens is Prince Charmant sees her reflection with the dagger just as she breaks her own curse. You will not be obedient! Ugh! And she falls to the ground. Unfortunately, it's right as Prince Charmant calls for the guards. Also, Edgar is there because he was depending on her being the murderer. So now Ella's in jail. Prince Charmant is like, holy crap, the woman that I wanted to spend my life with just tried to murder me. Not a great day. Not the best feeling. So she's in jail to be executed. Not a great look. Okay, so now, while all of this was happening, Slannen was out on a mission to find help. Anyone who can help. Go get them, bring them back. So it's the next morning. Slannen returns with his giantess girlfriend, some of the ogres who didn't eat them, and they all hide in one giant coach. It's a movie, enjoy it. It's a very silly, fun version. They get in saying that they are the executioners. to help Ella escape and break out. Now, Prince Edgar still has designs to kill Charmant. He's like, I gotta get rid of this guy so I can stay in power. Now, it's the day of the coronation. So, the ball is over. Coronation has arrived. Hattie has come dressed in Queen Elizabethan power garments, expecting that she will be marrying Prince Charmant. Edgar himself has poisoned the crown, which gets revealed in the book. Her friends help her escape, and they're like, we gotta save Charmant! And then the whole film breaks out into a cacophony spy thriller ass-kicking scene. And it's beautiful. While they're fighting off bad guys, Charmant and Ella have a conversation about what happened. It won't happen again. I really do want to be with you. And remember, Ella's broken the curse. So, Edgar reveals himself out of fury. He puts on the crown, saying it belongs to me, seeming to forget that he poisoned said crown, and he doesn't die, but he does seem to be permanently infirmed and needs someone to take him around. And then everything changes into a wedding sequence. A musical wedding sequence. Yes! Don't go breaking my heart. I couldn't if I tried. Oh, honey, if I get restless, baby, you're not that kind. Doop, 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 doop. It's so much fun. This version of Cinderella changes a lot of the tale. There is no shoe trying on. He never goes looking for her as an anonymous woman because he knows who she is by the start of the film. Her mother does pass. Her father does not. He's very much alive throughout the entire film. He's just very in his own head. The stepsisters do not go through any type of horrific mutilation, thankfully, because there's no shoe trying on scene. Ella gets her friend back at the end, but they don't show it happening. There's just a bye, Ella. What we do have in this version is Ella, Cinderella, okay, the stepmother and the stepsisters, a fairy godmother, there is magic, and an antagonist fairy godmother. So there's no tree, but there is still a connection to nature. There is no weeping continuously. This is a modern day retelling, and this Cinderella is literally taking her life into her own hands when she goes on the quest to end her curse. We do also have a prince who has his own coming-of-age experience throughout the narrative, and as all Cinderellas, she finds her self-worth in the end. Remember, this is about humanity, her humanity, the way it was being abused by anyone who found out about the curse, taking back her own power, sovereignty, and surrounding herself with people who value her. By the end, she has an entire collection of found family. She has Slannen, she has Charmant, Mandy has been with her this whole time, and now Mandy is elevated in status along with her, so they have a better life. Things are great. It's magical, it's a lot of fun. Go check it out if you haven't. For next week, maybe I'll let you guys decide again. Stay tuned here on The Cinderella Circle. Don't go breaking my heart. I couldn't if I tried.